Hi, Michael Fry, President and CEO of Deepwater Subsea. In this episode of Daily Grind, I talk about why it's all about being a hustler.
I'm a hustler, baby. Hustler.
And in a hustler's game, you have to do whatever it takes. Let's get into the show. So I talk all the time about being a hustler and getting out there and doing what you have to do to put yourself in the marketplace. And for this daily grind, I just want to tell a real quick story. On Friday, sitting in the office doing some work, got a call from an individual and said, "Hey Mike, are you guys looking to do interns possibly in the summer?" And I said, "Well, I'm not really sure. There's always that possibility." I said, "Well, what's on your mind?" He says, "Well, would you mind if I drove down and came and spent a couple minutes with you?" And for me, I talk about being that hustler and getting out and doing whatever it takes. And so to this individual, I said, "Sure, come on in. I'll spend some time with you. We'll talk." Next thing you know, guy shows up in my office. And the thing I want to talk about in this daily grind is, if you want to be a hustler, it's a hustler's game. If you want opportunities, you need to make the opportunity. Now, do we have an internship today? No. 2, 3, 4 months from now? Possible. We're looking at doing some interns here at Deepwater Subsea. But the thing that I think is important is that this individual, his CV is at the top of the pile. One, not only because of his qualifications, but two, because he was willing to get out and hustle. There's a guy who calls me every week, almost every week. I'd say every week. And the message is the same. "Hey Mike, are you guys hiring?" And I say, "Unfortunately, no, this week we're not. But please feel free to check back in with us." Routinely, calls, sometimes multiple times a week. And as I tell this person, it's okay to call. I want you to be out there and be active. Now, when that opportunity becomes available, it might be his call that comes in on the day that we're looking for somebody. And that puts him in a position up in front of everybody else. So for me, this daily grind, if you want to be a hustler, if you want to get in the game, you need to do what it takes. That same Friday, I'm sitting in my conference room, doing some work, getting ready for class. We got class today. It's Martin Luther King Day. We got our subsea management class, and we're just sitting there going through some stuff. And I hear a knock at the conference room door, and I happen to look up, and it's a salesperson. And I'm thinking, that's kind of interesting, Friday afternoon. Bring the guy in, and he just says, "Hey, I'm just here to introduce myself, see if there's anything that we can do for you." And, for me, if you're willing to take that time and to put yourself out there, I'm willing to give you 5-10 minutes to hear what you have. Now, unfortunately for that business, it's not something that we would utilize, but I gave that person the opportunity to kind of give me his pitch. The thing that I think is interesting is there's a lot of people who reach out to me by email. They reach out to me by LinkedIn messages. And I always tell people, basically, honestly, the truth is, one, yes, we're interested in learning more, or two, no, your service isn't something that we would ever utilize. But what's important is that person took the time to send that message. Instead of saying, "No, I don't think this is something that Mike would ever use," they took the time and just threw it out there. Because as I've said in the past, you never know what you can get unless you ask for it. So for this daily grind, if you want to be a hustler, you got to get out and hustle. You never know what opportunity is going to come available to you unless you're out there in the streets doing what it takes. So this individual that came and saw me on Friday, I commend you. I know you watch these videos, but I commend you for having what it takes to get out there and put yourself out in front, even in uncomfortable situations. If you want to have that opportunity, you got to make the opportunity. Something to think about.